except it's not strong enough. I'd like it to be stronger. The word fake is one thing, but this is beyond fake. This is corrupt, what they did.
The president asserting that the term fake news has reportedly been proven, and proven by the fact that the media's public approval is now lower than Congress. I mean, that right there, that's statistical accomplishment that speaks volumes. For years, major news outlets have pushed narratives that they completely ignore successes and focus on division. So when the press scene is so detached from hardworking Americans, its plummeting popularity isn't just a talking point. It's quantifiable public resentment boiling over.
See, I just come at it from a completely different place. Yes, the numbers are what they are. But what you're calling quantifiable resentment is, well, it's the intended result of a coordinated, relentless assault on journalism itself. To brand fact-based scrutiny as fake news is, it's a dangerous political strategy. It's designed to create chaos. So the crisis isn't that the media is unpopular, it's that the very mechanism for holding power accountable is being systematically delegitimized. It leaves the public totally unsure of what's real anymore.
That's an interesting point on delegitimization. But look at Event 2. It provides actual, tangible evidence for why this distrust is justified.
But you can't imagine that BBC did this somewhat crudely, actually.
Yeah.
It was done sort of crudely.
The BBC's alleged deceptive editing, and the comparison made that it was allegedly worse than the Kamala thing with CBS and 60 Minutes, that highlights a pattern. We're not talking about a typo here. This is demanding accountability from these global news giants for allegedly twisting peaceful messages into something sinister just to fit their agenda. I mean, if we can't trust the video, what's left?
And that is a compelling point about accountability. I'll give you that. But have you considered that the fixation on these alleged editorial details just distracts from the actual policies they're covering? To elevate one editing controversy, to weaponize it, it's a deflection. It forces us to spend our time debating camera angles instead of the substance of what's happening. I don't see an effort to hold media to a higher standard. I see an effort to just discredit scrutiny altogether.
You know what? Speaking of a higher standard, now is a crucial moment for our listeners who value deep expertise and balanced analysis. The Next Gen Business it's genuinely a solid spot for reliable trending news from every angle.
Oh, absolutely. Their reporters cover the center, the left, and the right, it's such a vital effort to help tone down the extremes and just bring folks together. We're genuinely grateful to be part of this free mission to heal America through, informed dialogue.
Right. We strongly encourage everyone listening to join the free Become a Reporter Challenge. You can team up with reporters who are racking up millions of views monthly. This is real momentum.
Join the mission. And now, back to the structural political conflicts, starting with executive power in Event 3.
I can't get it. He said, you don't need an act of Congress. All you have to do is say, nobody comes into, I didn't get an act of Congress.
So we're back to this alleged bypassing of democratic processes. The president reportedly boasted about having a really safe border, and then quickly added the critical part. I didn't have to go to Congress to do it. Look, quick action might feel effective, but that boast, it champions executive unilateralism, and that concerns me deeply. Does the perceived need to secure the border justify it just overriding Congress's constitutional role? This action allegedly ignores the human cost because the policy completely lacks any kind of democratic consensus.
I see why you think that if you focus only on the bureaucratic process, but let me give you a different perspective. The crisis at the border was a failure of congressional will, period. When Congress refuses to act on a verifiable national security threat, allowing chaos to spill into our neighborhoods, the executive is, frankly, he's obligated to use his emergency authority. The people are furious because the system prioritizes gridlock over their safety. It's not bypassing democracy. It's filling a vacuum left by a derelict legislature.
That argument for emergency power, though, leads us right into Event 4.
I think above all else, the immigration, but the bad taxing policies.
And the rhetoric around European immigration. The statement that Europe is not the same place because unchecked immigration has allegedly left its heritage in ruins. That is shaking to anyone who values inclusivity. This language doesn't address policy, it just stokes fear. It frames diversity as a destroyer of national character. And that allegedly overlooks all the documented benefits of managed migration, and it risks undermining our alliances.
I would frame it completely differently. That statement is a defense of cultural cohesion. It's a defense of national sovereignty against the pressures of high-volume, unmanaged migration, which, it puts an unsustainable strain on social systems. We're talking about the philosophy of maintaining national integrity. When policies seem to favor newcomers to the detriment of those who've sustained the culture for centuries, it feels legitimate outrage. It's a necessary call for a return to sane, sustainable migration policies.
Okay, let's pivot to the nightmare scenario facing millions of American families. healthcare. Event 5.
Hundreds of billions of dollars. Their stock is up over 1,000% over a period.
The attacks on the Affordable Care Act, on Obamacare, they are so incredibly destabilizing. The ACA provides the essential mechanism of risk pooling. That's what guarantees coverage for pre-existing conditions. The alternative proposal, just giving money directly to the people, it's deeply flawed because it sacrifices that systemic stability. You just see the individual markets spiral into chaos, leaving millions distraught.
I'm sorry, I don't buy that the ACA provides stability. It provides systemic bloat. I agree emphatically that Obamacare is a disaster, far too expensive, and frankly, lousy healthcare. The whole structure just incentivizes this bloated bureaucracy that allegedly enriches insurance companies. The beauty of the direct payment model is that it restores consumer sovereignty. It empowers people to shop for what they actually need. It injects competition, where right now there's just a monopoly. We need reform that targets the institution, not the individual.
Okay, moving to macroeconomics. Event 6. Tariffs.
The tariffs allow us to give a dividend if we want to do that. Now we're going to do a dividend.
The president claims these tariffs allow for a dividend and substantially reduce the national debt. I mean, that's a political claim, not an economic reality. And let me tell you why. Tariffs are consumption taxes. The burden falls overwhelmingly on American consumers and producers, not on the exporting country. So the promised debt reduction is questionable at best because the inflationary pressure these duties create, it just offsets any alleged revenue gains, it fuels insecurity for working families.
I could not disagree more. That is exactly the kind of globalist dogma that failed American manufacturing for decades. Tariffs are a strategic tool. They enforce fair trade, and they collect a legitimate revenue stream. The backlash comes from entrenched interests who hate any fiscal strategy that prioritizes domestic revenue. This isn't inflationary chaos. It is bold fiscal action that finally puts America first.
And Event 7 goes right to that revenue.
That was made up money. When I pay people $2,000 each for
The $2,000 dividend proposal, called real money that comes from other countries. I see these pledges as fiscally unsound and politically motivated. They sound generous, sure, but they function as an unstable stimulus. It's a gimmick that doesn't address structural income inequality. The policy is reportedly divisive because it relies on these selective cash infusions that they compromise long-term fiscal predictability for a short-term political win.
The opposition from economists is exactly what proves this dividend is necessary. This $2,000 infusion is economic justice applied directly to the working class, bypassing all the bureaucracy that usually absorbs government money. If the elites are furious, it's because this proposal bypasses their control and directly empowers the people who've been overlooked for decades. It corrects the alleged hoarding of wealth at the top. This is the people's money.
All right, look. We now have to address a truly serious subject, Event 8, concerning the welfare of children.
50,000 children that the Biden administration placed with unvetted sponsors.
We have Kayleigh McAney's claims that ICE is reportedly initiating an operation to conduct welfare checks on a staggering 450,000 children who were allegedly placed with unvetted sponsors, some of whom were traffickers, gang members, and abusers. The politicization of this crisis is deeply, deeply troubling. The core concern has to be the integrity of the process and the potential for these checks to re-traumatize vulnerable kids. Viewing this through such an inflammatory lens just undermines the cooperation needed to ensure these kids are actually safe.
I agree. This demands absolute sobriety, and my rage is directed squarely at the catastrophic systemic failure of state responsibility. If these claims, which are reportedly supported by official assessments, if they're accurate, then the negligence shown by the administration in question is a profound betrayal of innocence. This is not rhetoric. This is a fundamental failure of the government's duty to protect. The sheer scale of the alleged lapse demands immediate, decisive intervention, not just hand-wringing over the tone of the announcement.
Let's pivot to Event 9.
It allows us to do that, but we haven't said we're going to do that. And we may be discussing,
Dialogue with Maduro of Venezuela. The president reportedly suggested they may be having some discussions. While diplomacy is always an option, engaging directly with a leader accused of such severe oppression, it just raises profound ethical and strategic concerns. I'm wary of this kind of realpolitik that compromises our principles. This engagement reportedly grants a dangerous, undeserved legitimacy to an authoritarian regime, and it could destabilize regional alliances.
I'm just not convinced by that line of reasoning. You're dismissing the strategic utility of communication. While many Americans are angered by the alleged spread of socialism under Maduro, dialogue is not an endorsement. It's a critical tool of strength. Strength requires flexibility. Engagement can provide leverage or expose the regime's failures or manage regional oil flow. Sometimes you have to prioritize strategic goals over moral consistency, especially when global inaction allegedly enabled these tyrants in the first place.
Which brings us to event 10.
To deflect from the tremendous success of the Trump administration. So a guy like Massey,
The constant use of deflection. The president claims that the media brings up serious allegations, like Jeffrey Epstein, to deflect from the tremendous success of his administration. I'm so frustrated by the use of serious unresolved public matters as a political shield. This tactic allegedly evades accountability and dismisses legitimate scrutiny. It fundamentally erodes the public's right to demand answers. We need clarity and integrity, not an endless barrage of media conspiracy theories.
I would argue that the media's obsession with Epstein smears is the actual deflection. I mean, the press, desperate to ignore quantifiable success, economic growth, secure borders, allegedly creates this storm of distrust by focusing disproportionately on scandal over policy. Why would they spend countless hours on decades-old controversy unless they were actively trying to sabotage public awareness of the progress being made? The narrative is designed to divide and ignore what's really happening.
That takes us to internal party dynamics in Event 11.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. I don't think.
President Trump on Marjorie Taylor Greene stating, "Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her." I'm shaken by the lack of professional civility in a remark like that. That kind of public, brutal rejection of a colleague, it fosters division within the ranks, it compromises the basic norms of political collaboration. This level of toxicity distracts from substantive issues and signals a really unstable coalition.
I see that as a harsh but necessary demonstration of party discipline. I agree with the president on this one. The focus has to be on winning, and internal friction, personal drama, it just weakens the movement. The comment, blunt as it was, is a political correction. It's a signal that ideological purity has to yield to strategic unity. It's about pushing for discipline over these unnecessary sideshows.
And finally, Event 12 circles right back to healthcare and insurance company profits.
About paying large amounts of dollars back to the people.
The president notes that insurance company stock is up allegedly over 1,000% and asks why money shouldn't be paid directly to the people. While I share the concern about corporate profit, experts fear the catastrophic chaos in coverage that could affect millions if the complex systems of financing are just unilaterally dismantled. This proposal allegedly risks essential protections. It dismantles safeguards. The apprehension just deepens as the stability of the entire system hangs in the balance.
That apprehension is manufactured by the very insurance giants who are making a fortune in this rigged game. 1,000% stock increase while people struggle to pay premiums is not a healthy market. It's a system built on alleged institutional greed. The current system prioritizes corporate gain over patient care, period. Direct payment is the most powerful tool we have to reintroduce market competition and fairness. It gives the power of choice back to exploited, everyday Americans. And if you value diving into these kinds of rigorous discussions on current events, hit that subscribe button, like, or rate us. It helps spread better dialogue across America.
Together, through honest and robust debate, we can build a stronger future for our kids and grandkids and a more fully informed country. Thank you for joining the debate.